business. Moved by Councillor Orr, seconded by Councillor Nichols. All in favour?
Aye.
Against? Carried. Okay, we'll go back into delegates' report.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. And for the benefit of councillors and the viewing public, I just wanted to report on a couple of meetings I've been to as a delegate for these community groups and 355s. The Corowa Historical Society Federation Museum meeting on Monday, 7th of February. The deliberations over the instalment of a sandwich panel room to house the textile collection. This conversation's been going on for a long time. The collection there is at risk of being damaged because of suboptimal conditions. The subcommittee are going to put a cool room type structure at Federation Museum in view of Sanger Street. My recommendation was that they plaid that in corrugated iron, so we don't end up with a cool room sitting on Sanger Street. They like that idea and they're going to move forward with doing that. It does mean that a very important collection is now safe with something that's going to look good and function well for that space. I do have a question for Director Appleyard as a consequence of that conversation around an allocated budget and time frame for additional PowerPoints for the band hall. Are you aware of that? They're wondering where it's going and what's happening with it. They need additional PowerPoints at the moment. There's an occupational health and safety risk with power cords and double adapters and extension cords and so on across the museum that needs to be addressed by installing more PowerPoints.
Would you like to take that one on notice?
I'll have to take that one on notice. That's the first I've heard of it.
There's a question around safety compliance as well. They've had an audit of their current arrangement, which is simply fire extinguishers. They're wondering why smoke detectors are not required for that space.
Depending on the size of the space and the age of the space, will determine whether what essential fire safety services are required.
Okay.
So, but it's something that we can review. Yep.
Thank you. And the exciting conversation with this group is the deaccession of the former Corowa Water Supply Memorial Foundation. Half of it is sitting down at Ball Park and half of it, or 1/3 of it rather, is sitting at the museum. The Piggin family have come forward with a suggestion that they contribute financially to the restoration of this particular memorial. AA Piggin was instrumental in Corowa's first water supply. AA Piggin was an important fellow in the sense that he laid the foundation stone for the Sydney Harbour Bridge. He was an alderman when he went to his death of 33 years serving on former Corowa Council. The museum have agreed to de-access the top of the fountain, which they have in their possession. The bottom half of the fountain is sitting down at Ball Park, and the Piggin family are interested in contributing to the restoration of the whole thing as a bigger project. So we have a letter from the Historical Society agreeing to do that, and I just wanted to let Council know. Mr Butler, I believe that's a project that you've already allocated to a staff member.
Yeah, thanks, Councillor Nichols. And repealing the Crown Reserve Improvement Fund, what we call the CRIF project, which was putting all the walkways and things through that whole area. I'll discuss that with the team as to whether that, I'm sure there was an area in there around that well was conceptually funded as part of that project, but are you aware, Steve, or does it need more research?
Off the top of my head, I couldn't say.
Yeah.
The original position of the fountain was where the war memorial is now. It was then moved to in front of the former council chamber. The request or recommendation from the Historical Society is that it's put up close to where it used to be. There is an idea that that fountain might be placed into Memorial Gardens, which, as we know, is in need of an update. So there's an opportunity to put it back close to where it was before. Stakeholder groups include the RSL. They're really keen to contribute with funding and resource. We've got Apex Lions, Rotary, Men's Shed, Historical Society there to support council, and of course the Piggin family to support council financially as well. So I think it's a project that we for the interests of not only preserving history but also redeveloping a park. So there's a bit of information I've got here on Thomas Ball. He's a pretty important fellow.
Council papers.
Who is my neighbour? Corowa Refugee Support Network. They are meeting this evening, and there's a meeting planned to discuss the Growing Regions of Welcome program, and also they're inviting Brooke Hermans of Federation Council to complete a questionnaire around people coming to the region. So I'm going to that meeting tonight. Federation Arts Committee met last night. A key agenda item is that I'm really pleased to say that they're developing a strategic plan to support council and moving the art prize and the management of the art space forward, just so that we get better visitation for tourists, more options. We get a preservation plan around our current collection. We also get some valuation around that and so on. So that strategic plan will be presented to council for consideration for the next budget moving forward. I suggested that it needs to be more than just a conversation and to put that plan together. So I'm really pleased. And Councillor Law, I do note that your absence was noted, and it's and the work that you've put in previous years was much appreciated.
Thank you.
The final thing is the Coral Business Chamber. I was at a recent Business Chamber meeting. I'm really pleased to report that there's been pretty much a unanimous decision to go with a name change so that we are more inclusive of businesses right across the Federation region, to remove the word Corowa, probably to keep the word Federation in there. That motion hasn't been put to chamber members yet, but we've got a pretty good agreement so far to be more inclusive of businesses right across the region. The Careers Expo is coming up, as I said before. I'd love to see council represented at that. And BEC Wagga are working with the Business Chamber to put on a series of events for chamber members. Chamber has realised that they need to add more value to membership. And so there are now 6 events planned for the year ahead, 3 evening and 3 morning sessions, to not only increase membership, to give better value to existing members. So I'm really pleased to see there's some action on that front as well. Thanks for your time. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Councillor Nichols. That was very informative. Did any other councillors have any other delegates report that they'd share? Okay, do I have to move and change?
Yeah, move to note the delegates.
I did, okay.
Oh, no, haven't, sorry.
Oh, sorry. Would someone like to move to note? Thank you, Councillor Law, seconded by Councillor Black. I'll put it all in favour.
Right.
Against carried. Okay, just a bit of housekeeping. I just go back to the business that was moved in closed council. It was a tender valuation report for the Corowa Sale Yards redevelopment site civil works, which was confidential. The recommendation that was moved, number 1, that council accepts the revised tender priced by AP Delaney, submitted on 10th of January for January 2022 for contract number 2021/160 Corowa Sale Yards redevelopment site civil works for the lump sum of 2237,108.50 inclusive of GST, or 2033,735 excluding GST. And point number 2, that council authorises the general manager to sign a contract on its behalf with a successful tenderer. Okay,
That's it.
councillors, that completes our council meeting.